I don't want you to be bothered by sponsored and generated blackmail. But let us see how we can come back together, make peace, and work together. It's for a while.
They finally removing the suspension of Natasha. It's normally news that they actually suspended Natasha AKPOTI for 6 months, which is not constitutional according to reports, But now they finally removing the suspension of Natasha AKPOTI due to the fact that this woman have finally met up with the conditions that they actually gave her. They said if she can meet up with some certain condition, the suspension will be lifted. Now, Akpabio went emotional moment Natasha actually met up with the condition. Akpabio went emotional and he almost cried emotionally. You will see this for yourself in this very video. Everything is ongoing right now. They're removing the suspension as it goes. Now, they're removing the matter from the court. Now, I would like guys to stay connected to the end of this video. If you can share the video as you're watching it, just do well to share it. Share to different social media platforms. Let it go viral. And if you can share it, just like the video, like it, give it a thumb up so that it will be recommended for us. Just stay connected. I'm coming back again.
Welcome you back to LAJUPOG Watch TV.
I don't have bad news for you today.
The home of religious gossip.
And boy, you should leave the fight for Mohammed.
What is happening in the Christendom? Join now to make sense with LAJUPOG.
Hello my great and wonderful viewers, welcome back to LAJUPOG Watch TV. For those of you coming across this channel for the very first time, just do well to click the restoration button appearing on your video screen, and at the same time click the notification bell icon so that whenever we drop a new video in few hours time, YouTube will easily let you know. They suspended Natasha for 6 months and it have caused a lot of uproars as far as Nigeria is concerned. A lot of stakeholders came out. They said according to the Senate constitution, the constitution that they follow in that House of Assembly, they said it is only 14 days that a senator can be suspended. So how come did they suspend Natasha for 6 months? Why did they remove her security? And on the same vein, why did they remove her salary according to report and everything, including the salary of her staff? Where did they expect this woman to see money to fund her lives for that 6 months that they suspended her? And the report have been coming in that Akpabio himself did not have the power to be a judge on his own case. The case whereas Akpabio was accused, Akpabio did not have the power to be a judge on the case. Now Akpabio suspended Natasha and the lawyers are already saying it that Akpabio did not have the constitutional power, the constitutional right to suspend Natasha and remove her salary because they believe Akpabio is not the one paying Natasha's salary. Akpabio is not the one that Natasha is working for. He is not the employer of Natasha. And on the same vein, they said Akpabio did not have the right to remove the security of Natasha because he is not the IGP. He is not Egbetoku, the IGP of Nigeria Police and all of that. Now, Kasala bought few years ago, the conditions that they finally give to Natasha, that Natasha, if she can meet up with that certain condition, her suspension will be removed and she will be reinstated back to the Senate. Though a lot of people came out to protest and all of that, for Natasha to be bring back to Senate and she should be reinstated as a senator for Kogi Central and all of that. But all the protests just go like that. But Kasala bought few years ago, they finally bringing Natasha back to the Senate right now. You will see things for yourself. You will see things the way it goes. So I will play the full video. You will see all the proceedings. I would like guys to stay connected to the end of this video. If you can share the video as you're watching it, just do well to share it. Share to different social media platforms. Let it go viral. And if you can share it, just like the video, like it, give it a thumb up so that it will be recommended for us. A lot of people actually call the attention of Akpabio and they call the attention of some other senators, that is the ethics committees. They said they're not supposed to allow this matter of Natasha to escalate. A lot of people came out, they said they're supposed to have made the matter to be matter that is within, that they should just sort it among themselves. It's not a matter that Nigerians are supposed to even hear about, but they did not take it with care to the extent that a lot of senators in the House chamber there, they're pulling their support for Akpabio. Most of them put their support for Akpabio because they believe that Natasha is accusing Akpabio forcefully, and they also believe that Natasha is embarrassing Akpabio and disrespecting Akpabio. So a lot of them put their support for Akpabio, and that meant Natasha to stand alone. That meant the woman to felt alone, that, oh, I'm alone in this place. Nobody is supporting me, so nobody is going to believe my story, and my story will just be dead before arrival and all of that. And they even said it to her face that her petition is dead before arrival. That's what a particular senator said, and that is what is happening. And that was why Natasha took herself to the international community, to UN and to UK Congress US and all of that, and to US Congress. She reported Akpabio, and Akpabio make headlines in their different newspapers and even in their different media houses. Akpabio trained in international space. Even for Akpabio to enter all those international communities now, countries like US, UK, and all of that, it is very difficult because Natasha have blackmailed Akpabio, and those are what is happening at the moment. Now, they gave Natasha a particular condition, though a lot of people came out to protest that Natasha should be reinstated back to the Senate, while some make a counter protest that Natasha should be recalled, and the meaning of that recall is Natasha should be voted out as a senator. She should be removed. But some people are saying it is a big disrespect to Kogi Central that Natasha is actually representing, for Natasha to be removed unconstitutionally in court, unconstitutionally for 6 months. They say it's a total disrespect to Kogi Central that Natasha is actually representing. That this is not about Natasha alone. This is about Nigeria women and Kogi Central entirely. Now, they said Akpabio did not have the constitutional power to remove the salary of Natasha because Natasha is not working for him. He's not the one that employed Natasha. Natasha was voted by the people, and it is the taxpayer money that they using to be paying the salary of Akpabio, Natasha, and other senators. So Natasha is not working for Akpabio, and Akpabio is not the one paying her salary. And on the same vein, the security of Natasha that was withdrawn by Akpabio, they say Akpabio did not have the constitutional power to withdraw the security of Natasha. Look at a lot of senators in the Hollow Chamber that actually misbehaved in time past. Even when they suspend them, people like Senator Indume and all of that, did they remove their salary? Did they withdraw their security? Why is Natasha's case different? Those are the questions that a lot of Nigerians were actually asking. Now, the recording case is finally in progress. They wanted to take the matter to court before, and you know, if the matters to get to court, it will actually escalate. Now, they're doing everything possible to just call Natasha back to the Senate. Now, they're finally trying to reinstate Natasha. You will see things the way it goes. Now, first of all, before you watch the proceedings, listen to what SEUN of Channel said in Channels with a particular guest, and that is what will make you to understand everything that you don't understand as far as this situation is concerned. And during the video, you will see how they're trying to reinstate Natasha and the conditions they gave to her and all of that, and how Akpabio actually went emotional. Akpabio almost cried as he was speaking. This is a very scarce occasion that you will see Akpabio crying. It is very rare. It is a rare occasion. Just stay connected to the end of the video. If you can share it, just share it. Stay connected. I'm coming back again.
The court order was served on the Senate of Nigeria. The committee in charge of ethics and so on and so forth. And that there was proof of service. I mean, this was flying on the social media and everyone saw it. They got a substituted order to serve by on the Senate through the office of the clerk. This was done. And then, in spite of this, you then sit down, you then rush a committee report, and then the person who is accused and who was likely to suffer from a suspension order was not even present. And so, in one breath, there was no fair hearing. You never heard the other side, in line with the provisions of the Constitution, Section 36. In the other breath, you disobeyed flagrantly a court order, and then you turn around to say, oh, the judiciary is not strong enough, the judiciary should improve, when we are the very ones, by this behavior, undermining judicial institutions in this country. Honestly, if I were the judge, and the appropriate applications are made before me, I will go very far to make that point strong. Now let's come back to the rules. They made so much noise about the rules. We wrote these rules. Or
Rule 60, Rule 40,
we reviewed,
Rule 20. There are a few sections of...
We reviewed the rules in 1999. I was the first to lay down the reviewed rules. It was what I laid that I sent to the Senate for them to use. It's not changed. They've just changed, increased committees, a few here and there. Now, the Senate President allocates the seat. The dispute arose from the allocation of seat. Now, once it is Senate President that allocates a seat and a senator complains about a right to a seat, it's a privilege, because the right to be in the Senate is by election and a certificate of return. Do not forget, you and I cannot go there. So once he raises that point, it is a duty under Order 10, the famous Order 10 she was shouting about, of the presiding officer, to have suspended all other matters. I consider that a very serious issue, and taking her complaint and make a formal ruling. But if you watch the proceedings on that day, as the distinguished senator was shouting, order 10, order 10, I already heard the presiding officer talking about prepare her for suspension. Review the tape. We've seen it. You were already preparing her for suspension even before you.
So was it fake accompli?
Oh yeah, it was completely.
They decided our fate even long before the ethics committee was even.
It was predetermined, and then beyond that, the question was, at the time they went to court, the issue was that there was a thinking, a suspicion that she might be suspended. That was why she went to court. If you don't stop them, they will do it. And then they did it in spite of receiving the order. Now, I said to them, they were wrong. Section 4, subsection 8 of the Constitution is clear. In the conduct of his legislative powers and duties, their conduct shall be subject to the judiciary.
So you can actually, another arm of government can stop the activities of another arm of government.
Look, can I just take it briefly?
So the judiciary, the court can stop the activities that goes on in the chamber. I imagine that the activities within the chamber, there is some level of immunity to the procedure and the activities of lawmakers within the chamber.
As long as the activities do not obstruct the due process of law. I mean, once a Senate is in session, it is carrying out legislative business. Whether it is about a seat, whether it is about a breach of privilege, whether it is about passing the law, whether it is about passing a motion, it's all brought down legislative privilege. And so when the Constitution of Nigeria says that the National Assembly's duties shall be subject to the jurisdiction of the courts, it means it. And that's why they run to court each time they are suspended. Jinda was there. Ndume was there.
And I was going to reference the case of Omayege. It was a rested case in the court.
Yes.
The case of Ali Ndume. They all went to court.
Dino Melaye.
Yes. These are cases that have been decided by our
Correct.
court. In that case, there is an underlying factor that the courts
have talked about. For example, most courts have the view that you can't suspend a sitting senator or lawmaker of any legislative body for more than 14 days, interpreting the Legislative Powers and Privileges Act.
But so there is an establishment that the Senate or the National Assembly, when there is a quorum and there is a sitting, can suspend one of their own.
Oh, definitely.
By their own rules.
Definitely.
But in the court, as at the famous case of Senator Omar Agege, that you cannot suspend for more than 14 days.
Correct. And not only that, you can also not suspend without hearing the other party. That's a violation.
Nemo Judas
in Kazaswa. You know that because the Senate President who allocates the seat and which was the course of action in all of this.
But Senator AKPOTI Uduaghan did not make herself available to the Ethics Committee.
Well, the point will be whether or not she was in court, because I understand she filed an action, she was probably present in court. So it will also depend whether there was a proving means of proof of service on her. Because if you have a fear about you being endangered by a given institution and you approach the appropriate institution for redress, you are most likely to pursue the processes to the attention of the prosecuting institution.
But let me ask you this fundamental question. The women folk, the gender, the female gender has been under critical spotlight in politics, in this case of Senator Natasha Akpabio Uduaghan. As a former lawmaker, if this kind of case comes up, what do you think is best? Because as anyone that is above the age of 50 and is in politics and is in governance and is in leadership will assume some level of reasoning and wisdom in handling this kind of matter. Don't forget that Senator Godswill Akpabio is a very good friend to Chief Emmanuel Uduaghan, the husband to Senator AKPOTI Uduaghan. There is a family connection. There is a friendship that is in question here. Do you think this matter could have been handled in a better way?
Well, definitely, because the Senate President is the interpreter of their rules. So in interpreting the rules, you have two obligations. You have to be compassionate, and at the same time, you have to be humanistic. Remember, we are dealing with human beings. And then you must recognize that the world recognizes the endangered nature of female politicians. And that's why you've had affirmative action, you've had the Beijing Declaration, all of this is...
Does it look like Senator Natasha Akpabio stepped out of the line? If there is a rule that you cannot speak if you're not sitting on your chair, even when you have a legitimate reason to protest, and there are cases that, the presiding officer himself in the 8th Assembly, we showed a video of how he agitated when he sat in a place where there was no microphone. So he agitated. But shouldn't she have also obeyed first by sitting in the place and then protest later? In case of, say, obey the rules that were made by your own colleagues, agree to.
No, but don't forget that even in the reallocation of seats, there is a notification. I am aware that text messages are either sent or a publication done. So if you didn't get any and you suddenly come to the Senate on that day, and some para-legislative staff I'd say, no, man, you can't stay here. This is where you are going to sit. As a member of the Senate, you are not a slave. Remember that. Part of what qualifies you to remain in the Senate is that you were elected. So the right to speak as a senator is guaranteed. The right to protest is guaranteed. So you cannot be talking about sitting on the seat, which is the subject of action.
We've seen 3 months suspension. We've seen a few months suspension, but this is 6 months. What a lot of Nigerians might not know tonight is that it's not 6 calendar months. It is 6 legislative sitting months, days that we're counting. Meaning that almost 8 months or 9 months.
Oh yeah, it will extend far beyond.
She will be out of work.
Far beyond the calendar month.
What do you think of that?
Well, I think what she will be doing, what that means is that a state of the Federal Republic, Kogi State, will be denied the right to equality of representation in the Senate. The Senate is a special body. It's made up of 3 senators per state, regardless of the size of the state. And there's a reason for that. So each time this happens, you deny Kogi State the right to a vote. And so I think that regardless of the political parties to which she may belong, the government of Kogi State should intervene and express the reservation, because it will come to a point where one vote will matter and Natasha will not be there. And that's key. It's key. So that's why it's not just about Natasha. It's about whether or not Kogi State, as a component state of the Federation of Nigeria, is denied a senatorial vote.
How damaging is this for the reputation of the Senate under Godswill Akpabio?
Well, I think the most damaging is the blazing disobedience of court order. It is very untenable for a lawmaking body.
But there are very senior lawyers there. You have the Senate President, who is a lawyer. You have the majority leader, who is also a very respected senior lawyer. And do you think they would have flagrantly disobeyed court orders if they probably had considered something else that you are not saying? Let us say.
But you know, the truth is, power is an aphrodisiac. Legislation and the business of legislation it smells of power. So sometimes they may oversee the law, in the sense that they are dealing with primary interests which are also underlined politically, whether we like it or not. And politics is about who gets what, how and when. So if they had made up their mind to suspend this senator, nothing else for them will matter, not even a court order. So their seniority in law will probably not be counted on this occasion. But for us who are outside, who are observing, who are practicing, we will not fail to say no. Before many of them, we were there. So we will try.
Can this be corrected?
Well, for me, the way to correct it is, there are 2 ways. One, to hold a special session and rescind their decision, or the courts to step in and order and not suspend the senator, because it was done in flagrant disobedience. So once the lawyers file the appropriate action, we know that a mandatory injunction can do this, and I urge these lawyers and our lawyers to take the move, make the move.
Can Godswill Akpabio fix what has come like a dent on his leadership of the Senate?
Well, that may take some time, but it can carry out immediate emergency repairs, which will be do the right things, win some folks, and then hope over the period, make some good laws for the good governance of our country, work on some real nice policies. Maybe the country.
A lot of women are not happy with him.
It's understandable, because it takes a woman such a long journey to get to the Senate. How many are there?
All right. Honorable Wesley, also for some good reasons. Thank you so much for saying this.
I appreciate
your time.
Thank you,
and the legal knowledge that you've shared with us tonight. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you,
Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Honorable Wesley also, who spent some time also in the National Assembly speaking on the point of law and on the point of experience of the operations of the National Assembly. Someone who is also a part of the framing of the order that has been so much contentious.
INEC was never partisan. The recall process is provided for in the constitution that we reference, section 69 and section 110. And INEC is the institution given the mandate to undertake the recall process. Now, the thing is simple. According to our regulations and guidelines, constituents in a constituency who wish to recall their representatives will write a petition to the commission, a cover letter. But more importantly, this petition will be accompanied by signatures of more than 1/2 of the total number of registered voters in that constituency. Now, when we receive that petition, the first thing we do is to notify the member sought to be recalled. We will copy the presiding officer of the Legislative House, and then we try to ascertain the number of signatures accompanying the petition. Now, in the case of the Kogi Central District, we received the petition and we received the cover letter. And of course, what Nigerians were saying was that we were taking sides. But what happened was, in the covering letter, the representatives of the petitioners did not include their address as required in our regulations and guidelines. And what we just did was to ask them to supply that address. It has nothing to do with the petition. And of course, there is nowhere in the law where INEC is asked to reject a petition just because the cover letter did not contain the address. So there was no hanky-panky in what we did. Now, having received the petition, we notified the member sought to be recalled. We copied the presiding officer, and then we did the preliminary thing, which is to ascertain the number of signatures, whether it is up to 1/2, that's 50% plus 1 of the total number of registered voters in the senatorial districts. And we also issued a statement, to the public that, well, this is what we are doing. Now, it is only when that process is successfully completed that we can move to the verification stage. Normally in a recall, after ascertaining the number of signatures and establishing that it is more than 1/2 of the total number of registered voters in that constituency, we then move to verification, which is one of the most critical steps that we take on our way to the final stage. And what is verification? Verification takes place normally in the constituency. We go there, we have to cover all the polling units, we deploy our resources, and the petitioners, the list of signature, because the register of petitioners, we don't use a registered voter register in that instance. We go with the register of petitioners containing the list of names and the signatures of the people that signed. And all those that signed the petition are expected to come out. Not just coming out, you have to bring your permanent voter's card, and we will use our BVAS, bimodal voter accreditation system, to accredit, to authenticate your PVC. Now, it's like a normal election. You open the polling unit at 8:30, we close at 2:30. At the end of the process, at the polling unit level, just like normal election, the verification results is declared. Then, of course, we go to the ward level, collate and declare. Then, of course, we go to the local government level stage, collate and declare, before we go to the constituency. So it's a rigorous process, really.
All right.
Now, okay.
Okay, in all of this, the requirement is the constitutional requirement, section 69, section 69 sub A. And there is also, perhaps a lot of people do not understand that INEC also is empowered to set up a regulation to undergo this process. All of the processes are not stated in the constitution. So there is a regulation that INEC has put together to guide the processes of recall. Let me ask you, There are two modes of registering the grievance against the lawmaker sought to be recalled. It's either by signature or by tampering. And there are allegations that there are fake signatures. There are fake, that some of these constituents are not even aware that their signatures were imputed. Did INEC realize, or did INEC discover any discrepancy, or you couldn't even get to that stage? Because as soon as we saw the number that was insufficient, you just aborted the process. Is that what happened?
Thank you, Sean. The first thing we do according to our regulations is to ascertain the number of signatures, whether it meets the threshold of 50% plus 1. And that was all that we did. And by the time we physically audited the number of signatures, it did not meet the threshold. Now, concerning the forgeries that people talked about, it is at the verification stage that all that will come out. Because you see, at the verification stage, which is very critical, all those who signed the petition must come and themselves. And we will do that using the beavers. So you can't have a ghost come out to verify himself or herself. So that's very critical. And if after the verification process, we cannot get the 50% plus 1, the process will stop at that point as well.
Now, what lesson do you think INEC has learned? There is a Senator Dino Melaye situation, which also did not see the light of day, and now you're saying Senator Natasha Akpabio Dragon. What lesson do you think INEC are taking away from this very one?
Well, the lesson is that we shall always be prepared, and we shall always expect citizens to exercise their right. It's a constitutional matter. The Constitution gives constituents the right to recall their representative if they no longer have confidence. And no one can predict when this will happen. And our own lesson is that we must be prepared for any eventuality like this. And of course, we are prepared because we have our regulations and guidelines. We have the asset, we have the resources. If it comes to going to do verification, if it comes to going for a referendum, we will have been able to do that as well.
We're already getting some reactions, and those who are agitated about this process and saying that they will liaise with INEC with the full ambit of the Constitution and regulation, and to demand for transparency in the handling of the petition, and that they have utmost confidence in the Commission, but they're thinking that the whole nation needs to be put in copy of how INEC realize all of these processes. I think there are a lot of people who are still aggrieved about the fact that you have come to this point, and officially I guess that you have informed the lawmaker and you have informed the petitioners to say this has come to the end, because I know that under your regulation and under the law, as soon as a recall fails, can the petitioner or any other person in the life of the term of that lawmaker, can they start another process of recall for that lawmaker? What does the law say?
Well, I don't think the law talked about whether there could be a repeat or not. The law just talks about the threshold. The threshold meaning that if you want to recall, you must have, in addition to your petition, 50% plus 1 signatures. Okay, the law did not specify how many times you can undertake that. If you check section 69 of the Constitution, it didn't limit the number of times you can recall a lawmaker or a representative.
For us to liberate the image of this country, we call on Mr. Senate President to please, as a matter of national interest, to look into these issues and recall Senator Natasha back to the Senate.
That the so-called kangaroo arrangement for her recall processes is against the will of the people and it's dead on arrival. 5, that Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, called the Senate President to order.
I even have something to say, but I won't say. Senator Father Honsi pointed out that I have no friend any longer, that I only have my wife my children to contend with. Because even the senator we are discussing is the wife of my very close friend and brother. So I thought. On the day of our marriage, I slept in Kogi, in her house, 2021 or 22. The next day, I ran to Ubajana Airport. I missed my flight because the plane could not land since there had no light. So I ended up sleeping at Dangote Cement Factory.
Yes, sir. There's no point.
With 9 people. So I spent 3 days. Please give me a chance to say something. Even when Senator Webwe attempted to say that he was present in the same car, the social media said he was lying. But you see, we have been taken to the floor. We have been dragged to the floor. I have a responsibility. If you look at the rules of the Senate, I don't only interpret the rule, but the rule, which is an extension of the Nigerian Constitution, gives me the power under Section 20, subsection I and H, no, H and I, that the Senate President shall be responsible for the observance of the rules of debates. It shall give rulings on points of order or of constitution raised during debates. Above all, he is the only person to interpret the rules, these rules that have been made. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm in the best position to interpret the rules of the Senate because I have the constitutional power enshrined in these outstanding orders. I don't want you to be bothered by sponsored and generated blackmail, but let us see how we can come back together, make peace, and work together. It's for a while.
Thank you for staying connected, my great and wonderful viewers. This matter is already getting into another phase. And a lot of people have been talking about this Natasha issue. Some put their support for Akpabio. They said Akpabio cannot do everything that Natasha actually alleged him of. And some people came out and they said, no, Natasha cannot just come out to disrespect Akpabio just like that. That something might have been happening behind the door, which a lot of people don't know. They say when Natasha is not a witch, that when Natasha is not possessed, she can't just come out to just say that, oh, Akpabio do this, Akpabio do that, and she began to disrespect Akpabio, a whole number 3 man as far as Nigeria is concerned. The man that is occupying the Senate seat, the president of the Senate, is the president of Natasha, and Natasha just wake up one day to just feel like, let me disrespect this guy. They said it's not possible. Those are what a lot of people are saying, but nobody really knows the truth of the matter, because we can't say that Akpabio cannot do it, and we can't say that Natasha is lying. Those are what a lot of people are saying. We can't say that Akpabio is lying, but people are actually demanding for evidence that, oh, if Natasha can provide an evidence, even though if it is a chat, a WhatsApp chat or any platform chat between her and Akpabio, where Akpabio actually harass her and do all manner of things that Natasha actually alleged him of. They say it is finished. That even though if it is a chat or if it is an audio call or if it is a video call or anything, or video recording or audio recording, anyone, Natasha should release it. Though Natasha said she had buckles of evidence in her wardrobe, that she's waiting for the right time that the investigation will kick off, that she did not want to release it, because if she should release it the same way they said her petition is dead before arrival, that's the same way that they will say that the evidence is dead before arrival. And this woman says she's trying everything possible to avoid all those kind of language from the senators in the Harlow chamber there, because she believes that many of them are actually supporting Akpabio, and they did not like the manner to which she approached the issue and the way she's handling it. They said even for the fact that she go to the international community to actually report Akpabio, they said it's not called for. They said she should have called some other people as far as Nigeria is concerned to report Akpabio to them and all of that. But the question is, who is Natasha really going to report Akpabio to as far as Nigeria is concerned? Is it Tinubu that Natasha want to go and report Akpabio to, or Shetima? And it is either Tinubu or Shetima that Natasha can actually report Akpabio to, because nobody is bigger than him again. Nobody is bigger than Akpabio aside Tinubu and Shettima. Who else? And this and Tinubu and Shettima in question, they are in the same party with Akpabio now. How will justice be served? That's what a lot of people are actually asking. They said for those people that are actually saying that, oh, Natasha should have reported to someone else instead of her going to the international community to disgrace Nigeria and Akpabio, that she shouldn't have done that now. Who is she supposed to report to in Nigeria? And on the same vein, people were protesting. They said Natasha should be reinstated back to the Senate, that there is a total disrespect to Kogi Central, that Akpabio is not bigger than Kogi Central, that Akpabio cannot suspend Kogi Central representative. Those are what a lot of people are saying. They said if Natasha is going to be suspended at all, her security need to be reinstated back to her, and a salary need to be given to her, and the suspension is not supposed to last more than 14 days. Now, where is it in the constitution that a senator can be suspended for 6 months? Because the constitution of the House of Assembly, as quoted by some senators in the House chamber there, they say it's only 14 days that a senator can be suspended, including some lawyers. They came out, they still say the same thing, that if it is above 14 days, it is not constitutional. Talk less of taking back her salary and withdrawing her security, endangering her life. Where on earth is that happening? Why did they not withdraw the security of other senators that are fight blue and blah blah blue in the House of Assembly there right from time? Those men, those elderly men that were fighting blue in the House of Assembly back in the years and all of that, why did they not suspend their security? When they suspended them, why did they not withdraw their security? Why is Natasha's case different? Why did they not hold back their salary and their staff salary? Why is Natasha's case different? Those are the questions that a lot of people are asking now. Protest is erupting everywhere that Natasha should be reinstated, and the condition they gave to Natasha is that for Natasha to be reinstated, she need to come up with a public apology. She need to apologize to Nigeria, and she need to apologize to the Senate. And Natasha is saying that she is not going to do any apology. They said that's the condition. That's the only condition that Natasha can actually use to be reinstated back to the Senate. But Natasha is not ready for this condition. She said she's not going to apologize, and she's not going to stood down for Akpabio and other senators. She said she stand by her word that Akpabio harassed her and she needs justice and all of that. And that's what Natasha is standing on, and that is what this woman is still seated on as far as the case is concerned. Now, the matter is in court, and they're trying everything possible to avoid the court thing, according to a report. Allegedly, though, they said they're trying everything possible to actually bring back Natasha to the Senate and let the whole issue die down and let the Senate continue their work without the court case and all of that. But we don't really know how true it is. Now, drop a opinion in the comment section on this video, as I'm gonna dedicate an opportunity for you. And sure, follow me on all my social media handles on Facebook at LAJUPOG TV and LAJUPOG Entertainment, and on Instagram at LAJUPOG. Guess what, guys? See you in my next video. Bye for now.
I see the hot for my body, I say make I yarn you. Religious gossip plenty day for body. Pastor with the line on top, be pastor. For LAJUPOG Watch TV. Pastor with the back, where politician with the do pass himself. Why you waiting for church? All as LAJUPOG Watch TV.